Hello, we are Team 9. I'm Aaron with Ilya and Tan, and today we're talking about our Python TIC-TAC-TOE project written in Python. We'll first start with a short running demonstration of our code and then explain how our code works. So let's see with a demonstration. So as you see, we have our full code here that you can see very clearly. It proposes us two options. So firstly, play against the computer or play against in multiplayer. So let's play against the computer for the first one. Let's say I'll play. So Aaron, I'll choose block 5. I'll choose block 1, and I'll choose block 9. I'll choose block 7, and I'll choose block 4. And I'll choose block 5, 6. Would I like to play again? Yes. Now we'll play in multiplayer. Let's say, for example, Tan will play against Ilya. So Tan chooses block 5, Ilya chooses block 2, Tan chooses block 1, Ilya chooses block 4, and Tan chooses block 9. Would you like to play again? No. I'll just show you quickly the results. So this is the first game, so me against the computer. I'm X, the computer is 0, as you can see. I tried to take the place that the computer took. It was already taken, so we had to go. And it ended up by me still winning. And then for the Ilya versus Tan game, Tan is X, Ilya is 0, and we can see that Tan won. And now we'll go for our explanation of our code.
Okay, so we start by running the program. When the program starts, it asks the user to choose a game mode, and first we demonstrate the computer mode by choosing option 1. In this mode, the player plays as X and the computer plays as 0. As we said before, the computer automatically selects a move, so the game can continue without another player.
So now we demonstrate the multiplayer mode by restarting and programming the choosing option, so 2, as we saw before. In this mode, 2 players take turns playing until 1 player wins or the games end in a draw.
The program also allows multiple rounds. After a game ends, we can type yes to play again, which is handled using a loop. The program also stores data in files. The scores are saved in a file, and each game is recorded in a log file. In the score file, we can see each player's scores. In the log file, we can see the players, the winners, and how long the game took.
Now that we have seen how the program works, we'll explain the code and how it's implemented.
Yeah, so I will explain the game setup, the board and player interaction. The board is stored as a list with 9 elements. Each element represents one position in the game, and we choose a list because it allows us to easily access and update positions using indexes. The show board functions prints the board in a 3x3 format, so the user can clearly see the game. And the player move function asks the player to enter a number between 1 and 9. This number corresponds to a position in the list, and we then check if the number is valid, and if the position is not already taken. This prevents errors and ensures the game runs correctly. And if the move is valid, we update the board by placing the player's symbol in that position. And the game runs inside the while loop, which continues until the game is finished. And we also switch turns between x and 0 using a variable, so players alternate correctly.
I will now explain the game logic and how the computer works. So, the check winner function is used to determine if a player has won the game or not. What it does is it checks if the same symbol appears 3 times in a row, column or diagonal. For example, this condition checks if the first row contains the same symbol. Then we repeat the similar conditions for all rows, all columns, and all 2 diagonals. So overall, this function goes through every possible way to win. If one of these conditions is true, the function then returns true, meaning the player has won. If not, if If none of them are true, it returns false. We chose this approach because it's simple and makes it very clear which combination leads to a win. The board fill function checks if a board is completely filled. It loops through every position in a board and looks for an empty space. If it finds an empty space, it returns false, which means the game should continue. If it does not find an empty space, it returns true, which means the game is a draw. This is important because it allows the program to detect when the games end without a winner. And finally, the computer move function. The computer move function controls how the computer plays. So first, we create a list of all the available positions on the board. We do this by looping through the board and adding every empty position to the list. Then the computer selects one of these positions randomly. This means the computer does not use a strategy, but it can play the game correctly. We chose this method because it's simple and fits the level of the course. Finally, the program switches turns between players. If the current symbol is X, it changes to 0, and if the current symbol is 0, it changes to X. This ensures that the player's alternative turns correctly through the game. So overall, this part is very important because it controls the main rules of the game, including detecting who wins, handling draws, and managing the computer players.
I'll explain file handling and additional features. The load scores function reads the scores from a file and stores them in a dictionary. The save score function runs the updated scores back into the file after each game. The add score function updates the score when the player wins. The save log function records each game with the players, the winner, and the duration. We also use the time module to measure how long the game takes. The main function runs the program and uses a loop allowed multiple games. We use file storage so that the data is saved even after the program is closed. Now for the reflection.
Yeah, so one challenge was representing the board using a list, but we solved it by mapping positions to indexes.
Another challenge was checking all winning combinations, which we solved using conditions.
We learned how to structure a program using functions and how to store data using files.
And this is all for us. Thank you for watching our presentation.